Hello and welcome to part 6 of CSS and Introduction. Today we're going to be looking at background images and background colours. So far when we've used images on our site, we've used image tags with a source attribute and then put in that attribute a string linking to an image. Another way we can do that is using the background image property. So we're going to look at using that right now. Let's just add a empty div to our site and just fix this end one there. So just an empty div, and then we're going to come into the CSS and we're going to target that div, and let's give it a background image. For now we're just going to leave that as blank because we're going to actually have to find an image. So I'm going to come into Google and I'm going to Google seamless pattern. I go into Google images and just find any pattern, it doesn't matter, we'll just use this one. Right click it and open image, and then just copy and paste the URL into here. But first we need to write URL and then parentheses and then a string, and then inside that string we'll put the URL. And then if we come and view now, we'll see that there's actually nothing here. This is because the div doesn't have any sizes right now. It is probably just sitting up in this corner with a width and height of 0 and 0. So let's give it a height of, we'll just say 100 pixels. Save that and refresh, and there we go, there's our image filling up the entire div. And we can right click inspect this and see that it takes up the entire space of the div, the entire background. So we can leave it at that, but we can actually position the background image in different ways. I'm going to get a different image and I've got it up here. This isn't a seamless one, this is just an image of a circle. If you want this exact one, then go to the website and find the part 6 for this course, and it should be in the text in there. So just come to the URL and copy it, and then replace it here, and then I'm going to save it and refresh, and you'll see there's a problem. For one, it's getting repeated. I didn't want it to be a repeated pattern because I just didn't choose a seamless pattern for one, and I just didn't intend to. And the second big issue is that it's actually not showing the entire image, it's just cutting off at the top. And this is obviously because of the size of the div that we have given. It's only 100 pixels, whereas this image is probably, I don't know, 1000 pixels in height or something like that. So we want to be able to see the whole image. But I don't actually want to have to change the div to be 1000 pixels. Let's just imagine we had some kind of banner on our website and I wanted the image to be inside of this banner, but I didn't want to have to change the banner to be as big as the image. I want to change the image to be as big as the banner. So we can do that using the background size property. Let's give that a size of 10%. And I'll refresh and we'll see what happens. You can see as we can see a bit more of it now. So obviously we'll just give it about 5% and refresh. Hopefully we can see the whole thing. Yeah. Now to fix the other issue, the repeating issue, there is a property called background repeat, and we can give that a value of these here, but we are going to specifically use the no repeat. So we'll refresh that and you'll see that I just have one nice little circle here. If I right click on the div and inspect it, you can see that it takes up the entire width of the page. I want the image to be centered inside of that div. So we can do that with the background position property. And we can give that a value of center. And you'll see it pops right in the middle, exactly where we wanted it. And obviously we could use left, right, and other values that we've looked at throughout the course to affect the position of the image. Another thing we can do to the background is change the color using the background color property. The first value you can take is a RGB, which stands for red, green, and blue. And then inside we have 3 values that go from 0 and they can go up to 255. So each one of these could be 255, 255, 255. And all that is, it just gives it a certain value here. If we hover over that again, like it showed before, sometimes it can be tricky to show it there. And you can see when we change these values, the numbers change. So that is the red, green, blue. Another thing we can do is add an A to the end, which stands for alpha. And then we can add a third value, which goes from 0 to 1. And that is just the opacity. So 1, it would just be the full color. 0, it would be nothing, so 0.5 would be a bit faded, but you'd still be able to see a bit of the colour. So let's just get rid of that. You can also use just words that we've used throughout the course, just blue, red. And another very useful one we can use is hexadecimal codes. So I'm going to give this background image a hexadecimal code. I've got it copied down here, so I'm just going to type that out. And that is it's a grey kind of colour. So let's save that and refresh, and you'll see it matches nicely, and the whole div gets the background colour. So we can have a background image and a background colour. Finally, there are another thing we can do called gradients. We can give a gradient to the background instead of a colour, but we don't use background colour, we just use the background property. So one gradient we can do is a linear gradient. This takes a value of the direction, so we can use 0 degrees, and that will be top to bottom, or we can use to right, or to left, or 90 degrees, 180 degrees, it'll all affect the direction. But I'm just going to use to right. And then we can have a list of colours, so we can have colour 1, colour 2, colour, and it goes as many as you want. But I'm just going to have 2 for now. Let's just put red and then blue. It's not going to be a nice gradient, but we'll keep it at that for now. And then refresh, and you'll see what happens. So the image doesn't actually work with the background. So if you want a background image, you either have to choose between a gradient or an image. And another gradient we can do is a radial gradient. So we'll change this here to radial. And this can take a lot of different values. The easiest way to do it, it can just take a list of colours. So again, red, blue, green. And then save that and refresh, and you'll see it gets like that. Obviously, if we wanted this to look a bit better, we could make the div a bit bigger, and it would then make it a lot more circular. So that's it for the background properties. We can use them to do lots of different things on our site, and it's very useful to know about. In the next part, which is the last part, we're going to be putting everything we've learned together in the last 6 parts and creating a navigation bar. So I'll see you in the next part. Thanks for watching.